First and foremost, we're going to look at Upper Marlboro, Maryland, the housing market here in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And I pulled up Redfin just to get some stats from them. It says Upper Marlboro housing market, somewhat competitive. Homes in Upper Marlboro receive 3 offers on average and sell in around 69 days. That's not super fast. As we know, the market has kind of slowed down a little bit. So 69 days, you're looking at a little bit over 3 months, right? The median sale price for Upper Marlboro is $450, which is a bit higher than the national average, which is up 9.8% since last year. The median sales price per square foot in Upper Marlboro is $233, which is down 10.5% since last year. So the median sales price went up as far as dollars when you consider the house price, but when you consider the value of the home, it dropped a little bit. That's what they're saying to summarize, right? Upper Marlboro housing market trends. In January 2024, Upper Marlboro home prices were up. We already talked about that. There were 19 homes sold in January this year, which is up 1.3 from last year. All right, so we're gonna dive a little deeper into Upper Marlboro later on in the show, but we're gonna get to the state of Maryland and see how things are doing. This is all the January numbers right here. Units sold were down negative 3.8. So 3,859 sold in 2023. January in January 2024, 3,714 sold. Average price went up in the state of Maryland. The average price in January was $419,556. In 2024 is really high, actually, $450,033. So that's a significant jump as far as in house prices. So I guess higher ticket items sold in essence. The median sales price was up as well, 6.9%. Was $360,000 in 2023 January. In 2024 it was $385,000. So all in all, pending units were also up 5,000 homes, pretty much 5,024 2024, 4,996 in 2023. However, the inventory, this is the big key, and this is kind of what has been helping the market from crashing. In 2023, you had 10,438 homes that were on the market in January. In 2024, only 7,815 homes were on the market. It's a plus and a negative, right? The plus is the housing market did not crash because interest rates are high, and normally when interest rates go really high up, if there are a ton of homes on the market, then the prices got to dip down. But being that there are not a lot of homes, it has kind of kept an equilibrium, a middle point to where we haven't seen a crash yet. And that's the only thing keeping the crash really from happening, is because the inventory levels are low. I got a buyer that I've been taking around for a while. I think we may finally be closing on Friday, but for months I show them tons of properties. They just didn't like it, you know. It's always appealing online, but when you go actually view it, you start seeing things that you're not that deters you from purchasing the home. So it's kind of hard. And I also had a property on the market, anyway, the inventory levels are not good. May not be good for buyers. It's not the ideal situation for buyers because finding your dream home may not be attainable right now unless you're getting a new construction. It's just like the homes are not up to par too much. And then the good quality homes are being, like it said in Upper Marlboro, 3 people will put in an offer for 1 home. If the home is nice, more people are going to bid, which is kind of good for sellers because the market doesn't affect you to where your house equity crashes, right? Anyway, that is the trend in Maryland, and we'll see that that is also the trend nationally. Let's take a look at the latest housing indicators nationally. 4 million homes sold in the entire nation. Median price 379,000. Let me see how that compares to the state of Maryland. So Maryland's median price is 385,000, higher than the national average. Housing talk about January new home sales. 664,000 homes were sold in the nation in the month of January, right? Let's see if we can pull up the existing stats. Let's take a look at some of these existing stats real quick. Existing home sales is up 3.1% in January 2024. Sales accelerated in the Midwest, South, and West, and remained steady in the Northeast. So us here kind of in the Northeast, it didn't crash, didn't, slow down, just kind of stayed steady. But the other regions saw an uptick, right? Year-over-year sales improved in the West and decreased in the Northeast, Midwest, and South. This is from the National Association of Realtors. The existing home sales, it just talks about everything going on in the market here. Let's look at the pending home sales and see how that's doing nationally. Pending home sales are up 8.3%. It says pending home sales surged in December 2023 with month-over-month and year-over-year transaction gains in the Midwest, South, and loses in the Northeast. The National Association forecasts a 13% increase in existing home sales from 2023 to 4.62 million in 2024. So they are saying the pending home sales might go up. Is that the big crash that they've been hoping would happen hasn't occurred yet? The market is holding up, right? The market is holding up, and that's, like I said, due to the low inventory levels. Inventory levels are not there, so even though the interest rates bumped up, the market hasn't crashed just yet because there are not that many homes on the market, right? Not too many are being built. It's just the supply chain issues are one. Also, the cost to build a house is higher. And also, if you're a homeowner, unless you're moving out of state or like a family need, let's say you have new children, you got married or something, or you lost a family member, a divorce, 9 times out of 10, if it's just for a lifestyle change, you may not want to make that move right now. That's what I'm personally getting from a lot of people when I speak to them. They say, give me some time, let's see how the market shapes out, because we are kind of like in a volatile, uncertain, I wouldn't say volatile, but uncertain period in the market to where people are just not sure what's going to happen. The Feds were talking about dropping interest rates 4 times this year, but they've already bumped it up. And on that note, let's transition into interest rates, right? They were talking about dropping it 4 times this year, to kind of help the market and help lower the inflation. The thing about inflation, 9 times out of 10, once prices go up, these retailers, they hardly ever drop the price when the inflation rate goes down. They kind of just stay where they've gone up to, right? That's the unfortunate part about it. However, gas prices came down, so certain things are coming down. If you got gas prices, that affects like the 18-wheelers that transport a lot of the building materials, so it does relate to the real estate industry. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the Feds bumped the interest rate back up a little bit, and the reason they gave is because the inflation hasn't dropped to where they're confident in dropping the interest rates. If they drop the interest rates right now, the economy might crash and we can go into a recession or depression, so they're trying to manage it and manipulate the currency, so they kind of have to keep the interest rates up to prevent a recession from occurring, right? So current interest rates right now, 30-year fixed is at a 6.859, almost a 6.9. with an APR of 6.939. 20-year fixed is at a 6.739 with an APR of 6.84. 15-year fixed is at a 6.043 with an APR of 6.175, and a 10-year fixed is at a 6.094 with an APR of 6.328. So we're looking at the 7s and the 6s. Let's see if we can look at an FHA to see what the FHA loans are looking like right now. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the FHA rate. 30-year FHA is at a 6.143, but the APR is just as high, almost as high as the 30-year fixed, 6.925. Good thing about FHA is you don't put a lot of money down, but the way things are looking, it's still high substantially, right? 30-year fixed VA is at a 6.0. So the best you can get is the VA rate for the veterans. So that is actually the 10-year fixed is probably better. You're just gonna have to pay a lot more if you're only paying if you want to pay off your house in 10 years. So if you get a 10-year loan, even though it's at a lower rate, your payments are going to be higher depending on how much you put down. All in all, to summarize the interest rates, they're still high. We were hoping they would be lower going into the spring so the real estate market can kind of kick up because, as you know, it trends up in the spring and also in the summer. However, things haven't panned out the way the feds were expecting. So they decided to bump the rates back up a little bit to kind of keep the economy steady. So we'll keep an eye on it. It is an election year, so normally what the government tries to do is do whatever it can to get the economy really good so they can use that as talking points when they do their campaigns and also their debates. And it's almost like you forget. They expect you to forget the previous months or years of high interest rates and just hardship. You know, they get things down and really nice during election year to brag about what it is, rather and saying, "Oh, we got it out of that funk that it was in, and if you let us keep ruling, we'll even do better." You know, so that's kind of like the normal how things go in election years. So hopefully things will slow down as far as interest rates and talk of recession, and the market can become steady. You never know, right? Well, that's where that is, and we're going to move this thing on. All right, I'm a real estate agent, so I'm going to talk about keys to success in real estate, but honestly speaking, this is kind of general. These are things I use in my everyday life in other aspects that are not related to real estate, right? One thing I found out is just consistency, right? Consistency. If you look at a lot of people over time, those that are considered the greatest in their field are not those that had the highest peak, but more so those that had a longer stay at the top. Don't want to get into a LeBron and Michael Jordan debate, but the LeBron and Michael Jordan is the only example I can think of where Jordan is considered the greatest, even though LeBron has stayed on the top for longer. If you consider like a Randy Moss and Jerry Rice, for instance, Jerry Rice is considered the greatest because he stayed consistent longer. But nobody is going to argue that in a one-game situation, you know, who's the better person? Randy Moss is definitely better, right? Had a higher peak, but he couldn't maintain it longer. That's just a sports example. When you think about, let me see other examples. There's so many other examples that I don't want to get into, but people that are considered the greatest in their fields just tend to do it longer. Consistency is better, you know. Also, you get to appreciate the grind, you as the individual getting things done. When you get to look back and see the journey that you've come from and what you've been able to accomplish, you just get to appreciate it more, right? So in business or sales, which is what real estate is, really your sales and you're in the sales business, you may not think you're in that, but that's what you're in. I would say follow-up is very key, and consistent follow-up, right? Even if some people do cold calling, some people do door knocking, different ways to generate leads, some people do hand mailing, some people do Zillow leads. Even if you do Zillow and Trulia leads, you still gotta follow up. You know, you get the contact, you show the property, you don't just let it die, you can consistently follow up. And you don't want to be that snake oil salesman kind of bothering people. You want to be cognizant of feelings and moods and timing. You want to consistently touch bases with them, so whenever they think real estate, you come first, or whatever you're into, if whatever business you're into, whenever they think about that service or that product, they think of you. That's why all these companies run all these ads. You may not want to buy a car this year, but they're still running car ads all the time. So when you think of buying a car, you think of that person, right? Or that company. So being consistent, but being very mindful of how to do it. It's kind of like an art form, you know. You give and you take. You slowly want to do it. You don't want to be overbearing on people. That can be a turnoff, right? What consistency does is it builds momentum, right? It's like an avalanche. Once the snowball starts rolling, it's small and it starts picking up and picking up and picking up, and it just gets bigger. And that's really what the real estate thing is about, or most sales businesses. When you first get going, I was into another thing that's kind of related to real estate, but not quite. It was in the real estate field, but I wasn't selling properties. But it was a sales thing in real estate, but mostly to contractors. And when I first took over that kind of thing, it was slow. But just constantly calling and building relationships, all of a sudden we got to the point where we were overwhelmed with contracts and clients. Same with real estate, right? I would even just say, don't even get into it if you're thinking this is going to be your only source of income. Don't even get into it then. Have a backup, have something that's going to sustain you. Come into it with the long run in mind, right? Real estate is going to work out for you if you can. That's not only real estate. They say average business in America, the average business in America fails within the first 3 years. That's just business in general. Because you're coming out with a product, 9 times out of 10, unless you're inventing a brand new thing that hasn't existed, somebody is already in that market, right? But for instance, when the Tesla came out, that EV, you kind of had hybrid cars, but a full-blown EV wasn't a thing yet, just mass-produced. So that was like a new product, you know. So unless you're doing something brand new, somebody is already in that field, somebody already has a market presence, and you're trying to take over and step into their field. And honestly, it's just not fair. When I think about being in real estate now, and just when I came in, just the new me trying to compete with this me right now, it's not even fair. Because right now, I already built some relationships, not only with buyers, sellers, lenders. There are processes that I have learned from mistakes I have made, and I still am polishing my processes, but it's like I'm building this machine now to where things are just going. Coming in, I just was like trying to learn. So if you're coming in new, and you think about those that have been in it for a while, and I'm a one-man wrecking crew, but some people work in teams to where not only do they have experience, but they also have the mastermind. If you know about this book, very popular book, it doesn't come to mind, but it was about the gentleman who did a biography of, not a biography, but he wrote the philosophy of how to succeed. And he was assigned that task by Andrew Carnegie. The book's name is Think and Grow Rich. I don't remember the author, but he was talking about the mastermind. One of the things Andrew Carnegie, Ford, Edison, all these top inventors and capitalists of early America talked about, early industrial America. Let's not go too far back. talked about was the collective mind, getting a group of people to think together and work towards one purpose. That is way more effective than me just being a solo agent. The only reason why I don't do that as of now, my schedule doesn't permit me to be able to have these meetings. My schedule doesn't permit that. So it doesn't work for me. So I work things out with my schedule, but teams sometimes can be more effective. Let's say you can make more money solo because you keeping all your commission, but teams can sell way more houses, and it's just a machine. One person is doing all buyers, one person is doing all sellers, one person is doing all admin. So for a single agent like myself, you can go hire an admin and take that off your plate, but you got to do the buyers and the sellers. A team on the other hand, who's doing the buyers can go to the open houses, who's doing the sellers can go to the listing appointments, right? I say all that to say, building a momentum, right? Going out to these, constantly doing this, having that machine. So we were talking about coming in new, starting a new business, starting a new thing, and it takes time to build processes. Like, I remember when I started sending out hand mails, I would go buy the little envelopes from like the local grocery store, the local Staples or something. Maybe it's 45 in a box. Now I'm buying them at let's say 500 of them in a really big box. Same thing with the paper I used to print on. I used to just buy one at a time. Now I'm buying a big box of them, right? So it's just and it's cost effective now. I'm spending more, but it's just cost effective. Even the stamps, right? And I know there's even a better way of getting electronic stamps. That's what I'm looking into next. I used to initially buy the 12 book of stamps. Now I buy them in like hundreds, right? Let's see. I think I have some of them here. Yeah, so these are all like rows of stamps right here. And I don't know how many, this is 100 stamps. So it's just like a few hundred that come in this. And it's a lot cheaper. And it's just like you're coming in new into real estate. And these are all processes I had to learn. I'm buying 12 books of stamps, which come on a little sheet of paper. It's not cost effective. And now and I even know this is not the most effective way. And I'm looking into buying a machine that can stamp them. You can also do postcards, but sometimes that personal touch works. Not only you can print stuff out, but sometimes you handwrite stuff. People just appreciate that, or it catches their eye when it's handwritten. So I'm just saying all this to say, consistency, you only learn all these things and you get better at your craft when you become consistent. If you do it one or two times, you're not gonna learn and see what works and what doesn't. Right? So you got to keep doing it and learn and say, man, those 12 stamps are a waste of time. Let me buy more. So it just works better. Even like with printing, right? When I used to print out stuff, I would go do it at the office or go to the FedEx office, which is just not cost efficient nor time efficient. Then I said, let me buy a printer. So you got the printer, now the whole machine is available to where you just moving. So I'm just saying, you learn by doing and getting better. And also just get up and do it, right? When you procrastinate, nothing gets done. Then 5 years go by, a year goes by, and you're thinking about getting this thing done, but you could have gotten it done already if you just started. You just got to get going. You got to get going. Get going for the first few minutes and you'll just see, and you got to develop the resilience to keep going. Nothing is easy, right? Nothing is easy in life. Some people are lucky, things fall at their lap. Others got to grind, right? So you got to get going, right? And as far as in staying consistent, one key thing I wanted to talk about was the British people say, finish your dinner, right? In America, we say finish your food, right? Finish your food, right? I don't watch sports too much. I think the last Super Bowl I watched was when Ray Lewis won his last Super Bowl years ago and he was retiring. The only reason why I watched that, growing up, I used to love the Ravens, and I really like Ray Lewis when he was playing. And I think he was getting ready to retire. He announced his retirement the year before, saying this is my last year. So I was shocked when I saw the news last year. Ray Lewis he made the Super Bowl. Said, let me watch it, right? That was years ago. So I really haven't kept up with sports like that too much. Just busy now, you know? I mean, life changes. These are just things about staying consistent. Certain things gotta go in your life. I used to love watching football every Sunday. I used to love playing video games, you know? So it's amazing when I have a friend and I see they play games, and I just say, wow, I once was there. There's no way I can be able to be consistent and try to build something if I'm playing video games all the time, you know, or if I'm watching sports all the time, or if I'm scrolling on the phone all the time. So certain things just gotta go in order for you to be able to be consistent, to attain what you need to attain. Because these things kind of control you. These are billion-dollar companies that invest so much in sucking your attention. So you just need to be able to do whatever you got to do to stay consistent. I promise you, some people take it personally at times when they call me and they can't get to me. They get mad and then they say, I'm never going to pick up your call. Okay, if you want to do that, fine. You know, it's just a matter of, is that call about to distract me from what I'm doing? Everything is written down. Sometimes I veer off based on the importance of the call, but for the most part, I want to control my time in order to be able to accomplish certain things. So certain things gotta go, and you pick up the phone and you start scrolling. Next thing you know, hours have gone by and you're scrolling and you're just distracted. Certain apps are not even on my phone. So certain people send me messages and they get in their feelings thinking, you know, it's not personal. It's just, I don't keep it on my phone because it's going to go down a left turn constantly scrolling. So I log on the laptop when I have time and I check certain apps. I know I can't get all the features at times because it's not on the phone. They want it on your phone. That's why they don't allow certain features on the computer or the iPad. They want you to have it on your phone. But I try not to upload certain things on my phone because I'm human and these things are all distractions. So I try to limit certain things. You need certain things as tools for work. Other than that, for the most part, I just use them to upload stuff and get out of there, you know, or if I want to search something. So in order to stay consistent, try to limit distractions, right? And finish your dinner is what we were talking about, right? Finish your food, finish what you started. So back to the Super Bowl thing I was talking about. This year, for some reason, I was sitting there watching the first half of the Super Bowl. Based on where I was, it was playing. I got to see the first half. I didn't see the entire game, but the first half of the Super Bowl, I saw the 49ers. They were really crushing the Kansas City Chiefs, right? But they weren't scoring. I think they ended up scoring 10 points. You know, when I left, I told everybody, I said, look, the Chiefs are going to win this game. Kansas City is going to win this game. The reason why is there are certain people, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, these are just sports. I'm using this analogy because people can relate to them. But there are certain people you can see even in the business world, like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk, even Warren Buffett, right? Certain people that stick with it, right? And get it done. They said Warren Buffett's net worth kind of blew up in his 50s because of compounding, staying with it, consistency. That's what we're talking about here. And finish your dinner and consistency, how does that relate is when you start something, you gotta go at it. There's so many times, right? For young men, you see them accomplishing something. They get a little notoriety and then they allow distractions to demolish them, right? Whether it's a woman destroys them or just the love of the life rather than the grind that got them to that point. So many times we see people grind, but once they get to that top, they just dip right back down because they lost that discipline. That's what I mean by finish your dinner, right? You look at a Tom Brady. He always finished the job at hand. And that's what I thought about with Patrick Mahomes with the Super Bowl. I'm like, Chiefs are going to win. There's certain people you don't give the opportunity to beat you. They will beat you. And you're in business. You got competitors that are going to make that other phone call. When you don't feel like it, your competitor is going to make that call. When you don't feel like it, your competitor is going to knock on that door. You got to finish your dinner. Once I saw the 49ers playing around, I think it's also in the 48 Laws of Power. Let me see. There's a law in the 48 Laws of Power. Let me see if I can look it up. I'm not sure. But it talks about finish your enemy completely. I'm paraphrasing, right? Let me see if I can look it up. Law 15 out of the 48 Laws of Power says crush your enemy totally. And that's what I was talking about. And consistency. Once you start, I hate to say, but once you smell blood, you step on the neck, you step on the gas, you floor it, you go and you crush it. Really. So when I kept seeing the Super Bowl, the first half, I said, Kansas City is going to win this game. The 49ers didn't finish their dinner. They didn't crush. And then the next day, all over the news, Kansas City won. It was almost like a given. Certain people you don't leave a little loophole for. You don't leave a little gap for. That goes to your life. Once you start being, here's the thing, success you gotta work for. Poverty is given. If you don't work for the success, the poverty is just gonna come in, the distractions are just gonna come in. Those are easy to be distracted. That's why I'm saying finish your dinner. Once you start working on it, crush it, because that distraction just comes in so easily. And if you give it a little loophole, next thing you know is this, you just wanted to Google something important or do a quick ad, then you saw a notification, you clicked on that notification, then you saw another thing and you keep scrolling and keep scrolling. Next thing you know, 2 hours have gone by. Why? Because you didn't crush this thing called distraction. You gotta crush it. You left a little loophole, and it became this big thing, kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs. They left a little loophole for them, and then they came and crushed. Crush this thing now, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Why put up for tomorrow what you can get done today, So you just gotta stay with it and stay consistent. Like I said, just starting out, things were very slow. Things were very slow. All of a sudden I went, gotta know how to touch bases with people. Those that you want to talk to all the time, and then some of them, maybe 6 months, a year, 3 months, you send them. There was this lady, I reached out to her and built some rapport. She was cool with doing business with me, but she told me just not right now. So I fell back. This was last year, but when the holidays rolled through, like I said, the hand mail, send some Christmas cards. Periodically, I would send just market stats, things like that. And randomly this year, she called me, hey, come take a look at my house. Went over there, talked about everything, and the timing is still not right because there are other factors. So it's like, hey, timing is not right, but I like what you're doing. I got 2 friends who are looking to buy a house. I gave them your number. See how that works? Listen, you don't even count those until the commission check hits your bank. It's not your money, so you don't even count it, but I'm just showing what consistency can do. Same thing with a gentleman I was prospecting. He's also a seller, and he called me randomly like, hey, I've been interviewing agents. I kind of like the way you've been consistent. I think I'm going to go with you, but I have a friend who's selling as well. If we both list with you, can you take off a point on the commission? Say, all right, we can talk about it. But just me constantly showing the effort helps that, right? You never know. They said, there's so many sayings about that. Some people say it's better to be lucky than good, but somebody said, I get more lucky when I work hard. I'm luckier when I work hard. More things happen when you work hard. Some people have gotten deals when the call they didn't want to make. That has happened so many times with me prospecting. I don't feel like it. All right, man, get up and do it. And then you make that call, listing appointment, right? Even right now, I'm under the weather and the time is right. This time is correct right here, right? It's 20 past 1 and that's AM. That's not PM, that's AM. and I'm shooting this video. Excuse me, because I had it written down. I got a wallboard over there where I write down stuff to do. Possibly I'll show you guys, but I had it written down to get done. Yesterday, an agent called me, hey, we're doing the final walkthrough tomorrow. We're closing on Friday. We're closing on the 1st. I'm like, okay, cool. Everything is done. I just texted her back. Everything is done except the furniture hasn't been moved. I'll move the furniture out over the weekend. Then she texted me back, that's not gonna work. We're closing on Friday. I'm like, whoa, I thought the 1st was Monday. Because I'm thinking I got a closing on Friday and one on Monday, but it's like, wow, there are gonna be 2 closings on a Monday. So I had to get up and go move that furniture. It's too late to arrange that. So I had to wake up at 6 this morning, go to Home Depot, get a box truck, go there. It's not too much stuff. The owner had already moved a lot of it out. It's just 1 or 2 pieces that the buyer didn't want in the house, and then the owner's like not even in the state of Maryland at the time. So I had to do it, and that's what I was doing all today. And by the time I got done with that, did some other meetings, it's late, then the day is gone. But guess what? I had written down, get this video done today. I can easily lay back and do it tomorrow. Nothing wrong with doing it tomorrow, right? But why put up for tomorrow what you can get done today? And also the reason why I'll show y'all is this calendar right here. I shared it with you guys. And as you see, these are check marks, right? I got 2 negatives. These are 2 negatives, 2 days that I didn't do what I was supposed to. The blank was something I did that is important. I wrote it down. But, 3 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I hate those. And I didn't want to add another one here, So I had to get a positive check. And that's all you do. You stack good days. And it's like that snowball. So these are just little tools for me. Everybody has what works for them. Some people work off calendars, like on their phones. I'm an old school guy. I kind of like to write. I walk around with notepads at times to jot down ideas. I know the technology is good. Some people can dictate it. Something about writing it down and scratching it off as done, or physically checking. And when you take a look at your calendar and you see all those check marks, and then you just stacking good days. And the reason why I had to do this video today, to go back to this, I'm going on 2 weeks straight of stacking good days. I'm like, so the reason why I'm sharing this is because consistency is like a habit, good or bad. You just develop it. And it bothers you when you start trending negative, or when you break, when you're stacking good days and you break that bothers you. But you don't get to that point until you get going. So you got to get going. It's like working out. 1, 2, 3, 4 days. Now, the 60 or 70, 80 pound that you were struggling with is just light, So your body got to get used to it. But you got to force the first few days, then it just becomes a thing, right? Hope that helped out. All right, so now we're going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. I live in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and pros and cons living in Upper Marlboro. Number 1, we're going to say, for the most part, it's a safe city, right? I say for the most part because this is true for almost everywhere in the world, right? Especially in America. Things can happen everywhere. But for the most part, the reason why I say safe, you got the county jail here, you got the courthouse here, you got so much as far as law enforcement things in certain areas. The presence of them is just too much. So for the most part, people are not going to go crazy, because this is not the furthest city out for a whole bunch of cops to come and swarm down on you. You'll see a whole bunch of them at the court. You'll see a whole bunch of them at the courthouse, county jail. So there's just so much going on to where too many administrative buildings are here to where, depending on where in Upper Marlboro as well, right? But for the most part, very safe, family friendly. I would say it's a mixture of rural and urban areas. Easy to get an acre of land. Also, you got cul-de-sacs with townhouses that are kind of bunched together, and so it's kind of like a mixture of urban and local and rural, right? So it's a mixture. Very family friendly kind of area. You can have a nice spot to where you get a lot of land and just kick back, and also you can have neighbors as well. You know, you got some HOA areas, you got areas without HOA, so it's kind of like a nice mixture. Another good thing I would say, the commute, right? It is a suburb of Washington, D.C. That's the beautiful thing. You know, I didn't even know this. I drove right down 301 to Alexandria, Virginia. Next thing you know, it's like 25, 30 minutes I'm there. I'm like, wow, I didn't know I was that close to Alexandria, right? So you can get to DC, a lot of different cities that you can get to a lot of different cities in the metropolitan area as far as the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, but it's mostly Northern Virginia. When you talk about DMV, Virginia is a huge state. So the Richmond part of Virginia is more closer to South Carolina than it is to the DMV. So Upper Marlboro kind of is on the crossroads where you can kind of get to a lot of different areas from here and not take too long. Number 4, I'll say employment is a good reason as well. As I mentioned, you got the county government, not the government really, but you got the courthouse. You got a lot of different industries here, but mostly the median income is higher in Upper Marlboro. So just more opportunities, right? More jobs, you know, government facilities, other employers, with the median income and the household income being kind of high in this area, more opportunities are there. So all in all, it is a little bit more expensive than other areas in Maryland and in America. Not a bad place to live. Let's talk about the cons and negatives of living in Upper Marlboro. Don't have too many, but I'll say it's car dependent, right? So whatever amenities are in the city of Upper Marlboro, you can't walk to them, right? The gap between one and another is pretty big, and you're gonna have to drive. The public transportation is not the greatest. You know, you got some buses that run here and there, but it's few and far between. So everything around that you may want to get to, you're going to need to drive. So if you don't drive, Upper Marlboro may not be the city for you unless you plan on paying a lot of Uber, right? So that is a negative. Unlike certain cities that are, you know, more congested, everything is close by, Upper Marlboro is a little spread out. Like I said, you can get a lot of land, you know, in certain areas. So the gap in between amenities is pretty vast. You gotta drive. It's car dependent. No way around it. I mean, you can make it happen. I'm pretty sure there are people who live in Upper Marlboro that don't drive, but it's tough. You know, sometimes even when I drive down and I see those that are walking, there's not even like sideways on some of these streets because most of them are like mini highways, right? And people are walking down them to get to the convenience store. You got to do what you got to do, but for the most part, if you want to be comfortable, you got to drive or be ready to pay a lot of Uber, right? The buses run, but not everywhere and not very frequently, right? Also, another negative is the cost of living. Generally, just because Upper Marlboro's income is a tad bit over that of the state of Maryland, average. So it's going to be a little pricier. That's just the way things are. I got this from bestplaces.net, best places to live, pretty much, bestplaces.net. It says Upper Marlboro is 20.8% higher than the U.S. average as far as the median household income, or so also the cost of living is 20.8 higher than the average in America, and it's 8.1 higher than the average in Maryland. So it's not the cheapest place to live. There are more expensive places, however, but it's also not the cheapest place to live. And the median household income is about 100 and the median household income is about 112,000, between 107 to 120 grand is what I saw on different websites I looked at, which is kind of true from just my experience of people. You sell houses too, you kind of get an idea of how much they make in order to qualify for this loan. So that is kind of like the median household income. It's not the most affluent area. Certain houses are massive, right? Certain houses, it's kind of like a weird city. Certain houses are huge mansions, and then you got the little, I wouldn't say shacks, but smaller houses in the area. So it's a mixture of both. You got the nice cul-de-sacs, then you got the rural areas. Some people do the dirt bikes in the woods. A lot. You can easily see a deer walking through when you drive. And other areas are just more high speed, more shopping centers. But there are a lot of trees in between, so you got to drive. So the negative in Upper Marlboro will be cost of living. It's going to be a little higher than the regular area in Maryland. Definitely got to drive as well. All right. Well, thanks for watching. I hope this was good. Let me know what city you want me to touch on. If you like me to touch on a city near you, just let me know and we can discuss that. All right. You have a good one.